Afternoon, everyone. I think that's 5 past now. We do still have one or two people still joining, but we will kick off just to save everyone's diaries and stop running over the time slot. If anyone else joins in the meantime, obviously we'll add them in. Just a couple of housekeeping points before we start. So we will record this event, so it is being recorded as we speak. So what we'll do is we'll distribute the recording following the end of the webinar, so you can share it with your colleagues and run through it again if you need to. Some of the finer points. Throughout the presentation, we'll run through a few slides, which obviously got quite a bit of information on it. If you've got any questions that you'd like answered, just drop them in the Q&A option. So at the top of your screen, you should have a Q&A option with a little icon with a question mark. If you want to stick your question in there, what we'll do is we'll save them up to the end and we'll go through them at the end, and we'll answer everything just so that everyone gets the benefit of the presentation and the answer as well. Or if we don't know the answer to it, which we should do, but if we don't, then we'll certainly find that out for you and we'll follow it up afterwards with an email to everyone. So just a few little housekeeping points then. So on that, we'll kick off. So afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate your time and the effort that you've taken to join us on the presentation today. As we mentioned, hopefully won't take up too much of your time this afternoon. We have got some slides to run through for you, but hopefully you'll find them all informative. As it says on the screen there, my name is David Gribben. I'm the lead business development manager for NBS Underwriting, and my team are the BDMs that cover the whole of the UK. So you will be familiar with some of them, if not all of them, hopefully all of them. But obviously, if there's anything that you need post this call, you need to spend some time with the team, you need a couple of reminders or anything like that, drop me a line and we'll do all we can. And if there's any kind of areas of business that you want to discuss or anything like that, by all means, drop me a line or reach out to me and we'll sort that out following the call. I'm joined by Rob Hawks, who's the Household and Property Owners Underwriting Manager. Rob will be running through most of the technical parts of the call, you'll be pleased to hear, and he'll take you through the ins and outs of particularly our mid-net worth product today, and he'll give you all the insights into where we're good, where we're not. We'll also run through some scenarios for you about where we've won and areas that we're not so good at as well, which I think is quite important to save you wasting your time in your submissions to us. So on that, I'll hand over to Rob and he can take over the product slides.
Hello, everyone. As David kindly said, I'm Rob. I'm underwriting manager for property and household NBS. I think the reason for these sessions that we're running today and tomorrow really is to educate you guys as far as the appetite is the key thing for us. So again, as David said, we'll go through high levels of what we cover, but also then the appetite, which I think is key to make sure both yourselves and us are seeing what this product is designed for as far as the cases we see. So as I'm sure most of you are aware, our mid-net worth products is designed for the higher net worth or mid-net worth individuals who sit outside your standard home and contents policies. I think the key thing within this area, just to reiterate, is there are a lot of blanket policies out there in the market which do cater for larger limits, so 2,250,000 contents sums insured. Those policies are great for the standard individual. This policy that we are advertising really is the Hiscox policy we have, is designed for the covers, and the policy itself is catered for those individuals who fit the definition of a mid to high net worth individual. Our policy again is designed with its rating structure and the covers is to cater for non-standard aspects, which I'll go through later on in the slides. But the real thing is, where you are struggling to find an insurance policy elsewhere, we can assist you. So that could be for multiple factors, and again I'll go through those shortly. But it is really for this where you're struggling to find it, where appropriate underwriting terms and premiums can be applied. So as far as the quote turnaround, what I would say is we do decline risks that come through. I will not be the first. No, I'm not an underwriter who's going to lie to you. I'm not BDM, but I will say that when we do see a risk, we will try and quote it fairly for our rating structure in terms. Again, what I would say is when we do see a risk that is standard, we will try and give you our best terms possible. But if it is going to the market that it should be going to, they should be winning it. There are always cases where a risk is in a really sweet spot for us as far as the postcode or whatever it might be, and we are competitive and we can offer a policy with no conditions or terms. But majority of the stuff we do convert, as we'll go into later, has non-standard factors. So our policy, it is a so again the policy I'm speaking about today is a policy we launched early this year with Hiscox. So I kind of just bypass the first half of this slide and start really the bit Bob, but the bit that I think is key for lots of the people here. It's a Hiscox policy. So it is not a NBS policy. We just distribute a Hiscox policy on their behalf, but using our non-standard rating and our non-standard endorsements and factors. So that means that they do get the policy wording of Hiscox, and with that the brand and the claims service, which I think everyone here would be, when it comes to the high net worth policies that they have in the marketplace. As you see from the awards they get and the feedback, they are top tier. So that every policy holder you get to place with us will have that service. However, when it comes to what we can write, that falls back onto us. So as far as our appetite and cover and limits, that is an NBS structure. So we will cover properties up to 2.5 million in any one location. That does mean that is total sum insured, so that does include buildings and contents. What I would say is we can do individual buildings, we can do buildings only and contents only policies. So that is something that I know Hiscox wouldn't do in certain situations, so we can do that for you. The covers on the screen, they are pretty, they are the standard covers you would normally expect. So they're everything you expect in a mid to high net worth policy we will offer. So there's no individual limits that are outside of what would be a norm. One thing I noticed we haven't got on here, which I will add on for our slides for tomorrow, would be the sub limits for fine art and personal possessions, which are for personal possessions and jewelry is 15,000 for single article limit and 25,000 for fine art. For those who might have used us previously, you would have noticed that known that our previous inner limits for those items with our old AXA and HCC policy is much lower at 5,000. So you can see that we've increased those inner limits quite a bit for this policy. Sorry, I would go back just briefly. We also do have the options, and they are options. So additional covers for home emergency and legal. They are still via Hiscox, so you get the same level of service again, even though it's our RAG, it is with a Hiscox team that they deal with. So what do we like? I think this is the key thing for this, for all of you guys here, would be we like the real hard to place stuff, as I've already mentioned. So claims heavy risks. So we all know that some insurers will kick out risks when they've had one or two claims. We won't. We'll look at them. We will always try and give you cover where necessary. So if we can provide the cover with a higher excess or with some terms, we will offer that for you. We also access flood re via this scheme, which obviously comes to at the bottom. So flood re is also, previously flooded properties are within our sweet spot. It's where a lot of our business we write on this scheme comes in. As we do with the rest of our non-standard schemes within NBS, we do write that element net of commission. So that does mean that the policy premium on the main insurer aspect is we're getting more for that element, but it also means we're we're giving your customers and our customers the best possible premium. No one's claiming out additional commissions when they're not really doing anything for the cover. Non-standard construction, so timber frame. It's pretty typical now, but when that comes into all your hoof houses or hof houses, or the European constructions, as it were, that come in prefab constructions, we see a lot of those convert them at a higher rate. Bungaroo construction, something for maybe our southeastern Brighton-based brokers who might be on the call. We see a lot of that from where our office is in Bexhill. Wattle and Daub, all the non-standard constructions, which again an insurer may have an issue with for some reason, claims or previous histories. That's where we win. I always give an example to my team when I'm doing the training, when they join NBS, is constructions that you might see on Grand Designs. That's kind of where we like. An example of that is I think we underwrote it for a couple of years, was a risk in Scotland that was on Grand Designs. It was above a lake, on stilts, wooden timber construction. It ticked a lot of boxes for us. Luckily, they didn't have any CCJs, IVAs, or bankruptcies, but they did have a couple of the boxes ticks from our non-standard aspects. Convictions, we've got landlords convictions. Again, that's probably my mistake for leaving that in. We do convictions. That is actually with HTC. Hiscox are able to look at them, but we still have HTC sitting behind this as well, so we can cater for convictions. So it's not something I would say that we are going to be able to write all the time. There are certain, which you probably expect, certain ones that we will not look at, that most of the market won't look at. But when it is a historical long-term conviction that is 20, 30 years old, the client's done a lot of has gone through their rehabilitation, we will be able to consider those with both insurers. Previous subsidence issues at the property. So this is very much obviously a topic that we would have known from most insurers at the moment, with the year we've just had with a very dry summer. It is probably the most likely we've had in about 3 or 4 years. We're going to have a subsidence event, and we've already started to see 1 or 2 claims that we probably wouldn't have had in the previous few years come into our claims mailbox over the last 2 or 3 months. But we will still consider them. It is area dependent. What works have been done, what documents you can provide or the customer can provide. The main one's going to be area. That's again, I'm not going to sit here and lie that we will be able to do all the risks in the centre of London on clay soil, but more rural locations which had all the work done and don't hit on any of our insurers' data, will be able to give you some terms. And you'll see that if you've got any renewals with us, the renewals that are switching maybe from AXA or HEC to Hiscox are with terms that most of the time are acceptable, or even better than they were last year. CCJs, CCJs, IVAs, liquidations, bankruptcies. It is very much dependent on what they were for, but again, adverse financial histories, we can cater for them with either insurer. It just depends on if it's ongoing, how much the CCJ was, the circumstances. We want to build a case where we can underwrite it. We don't want to just decline something because of X. It doesn't. Our guide is quite open for these things where we can justify what we're doing. As long as we've got a story, we can tell. That's where we want to write it. The last 3 are basically when we have the jewelry and fine art and antiques. That's when we have a real imbalance. So what we define as imbalance, I think, is something that we've, if anyone's had a quote from us this year, and where Hiscox find the imbalance is slightly different. For us, it would historically been where the jewelry, fine art, and antiques hit over 50% of the content sum insured. Hiscox don't see that. So actually, it's when any one of those elements or the combined is over 100% of the general contents, where we have to where we consider it a imbalance. We want those risks. We want, again, those elements where, as long as they've got risk management in place, good security, we'll be able to write all these risks all day long for you. So for us, it is about the risk management when it comes to those things. I will not, I'll be the first to say we will apply it in an ARM endorsement, but what we will do is give you plenty of time to do that, and make sure there's, as long as there's communication back to us, there will be no removal of cover running of that nature. So again, kind of not repeating ourselves, but going through again, just to reiterate, as far as the cover and the target properties. So sums insured wise, 750,000 plus is kind of our minimum, and 75,000 of contents. That is general contents, not contents plus jewelry, fine art. What I would say is, if the customer does need, they're downsizing, all those mitigating factors where they could have had they could be a retired director of a ex insurance broker we had the other week who wanted the policy to continue, we can get that agreed. So as long as there's the overall profile of the customer still fits that narrative of a mid net worth customer, we will be able to place that. And if we can't with Hiscox, we have that kind of lower mid net worth policy with HCC. The non-standard construction, again, excluding thatch, that's the real issue. That's the real one to want to reiterate. We do like your non-standard construction, but the exclusion of thatch is key. We will not write that, and I'm afraid, even with all the other insurers we are speaking to on other products, that will not be something that I think NBS will be doing on any products in the near future. It's still not within appetite. As far as property types, though, we can cover pretty much anything. Construction wise, again, what we probably haven't gotten here is the different types of roofs we can do. So green roofs we do quite a bit of, with all the weird and wonderful construction we have seen in the past 18 months, with full glass roofs to we got a property done down my way in Brighton, which has got a lot of metal construction. It's like degrading with it looks like it's very badly maintained, but it's actually the style for the architect. Anything like that where again you struggle to place it, we can look for. The types of property, it's all your standards, so your houses, your flats, your bungalows, your mid-terrace houses. We can do coach houses. We can do where they have maybe issues with the rights of access to part ownerships of properties. New builds where postcodes aren't currently signed off, we have the ability, the postcode file is within our complete control, so we can again write those quickly for you without referral to insurers. That's controlled by us, so we can get you terms that day when everyone else is waiting for an online provider to get that signed off, and it could be 6 to 8 weeks potentially. So properties in flood risk areas. So we're actually doing some work at this at the moment within NBS. So currently we do a flood lookup on the individual basis when a quote comes on for a referral point to a postcode level. So it's the worst postcode in the area. Hopefully in the next 6 to 8 weeks, we basically for the new year, we should be signed off where flood postcodes get signed off down to the property level. So that will mean that there will be no referrals for flood, which means cuts down on the time it goes out to you guys, but also internally here there's no additional flood lookups, so everything will get done quicker, more efficiently, and we can provide you, if necessary, a communication back to your client about how that property looks as well, so we can give you a bit more information going back to your client. So just please ask us if we are flooding it, or we are ceding it to flood re, even though the property hasn't flooded. We can give you a bit more information on that. So areas we avoid, and I say avoid, it's sorry, this is still me on my slide, isn't it, Gribbo? I'll just make sure that's fine. Cool. I don't want to over talk. I'll just carry on talking if you don't tell me to shut up. So where we will say no to, it's standard construction where there's no other non-standard aspect. Like I said earlier, we can still quote. It's just going to be, our price will not be where you need it to be. So if you've got a quote from one is Hoxton. So if any of you have access to Hoxton with with Hiscox, sorry, they will be able to quote that. You go with them. They're going to be £1,000 on average, or £500 on average cheaper than us. That's where they currently sit, and that's where we're happy with what they're writing against what we're writing. Our loss ratios will probably be better. Sums insured over 2.5 million. We can refer to Hiscox. We signed a couple of off last week, where we quoted at least. However, it's just not something we want to write a load. So we see a lot of people putting things over £3-4 million into our system. We just don't want to waste your time. So if we can quote it, we will refer it. If you've got no one else, let us know. But I'd say unless it is a risk where you're really struggling, I wouldn't come to us, and by all means send us an email first, send us a presentation. High risk profile clients, so you've got your footballers and generic 20-something-year-olds. Any one of those three categories would probably be a definite no for us. So footballers, actors, YouTubers, social media people, anyone like that, we are non-standard, but not for that risk appetite. So it's the high profile. If they're older, retired footballers we've looked at, who are sensible, I would say that we do a bit of a profile dig. So and looking at their previous claims history. But if it's a story to tell where we can mitigate it with in our underwriting, we will try and do that for you. Business run from the home, we can cater for a lot of these. So again, the main thing for us is we don't want a high level of guests or visitors. So we do have a scheme separately for this where we extend property owners liability. We do all those key things that the client needs, but we wouldn't really want to do where the high volume of guests on our mid net worth. That's just something we don't want to run an Airbnb on this scheme due to the theft risk and the covers we provide. And if they're currently with Hiscox, so again, if they are with Hiscox, they probably should stay with Hiscox. One, they're at the same capacity, but also that's probably a standard risk. If Hiscox are declining it, by all means, send it to us. We will look at it all day long. That's what we're here for. We used to, when we had a broking arm of NBS back in about 10 years ago, they used to send the referrals for us. So we know they are declining. They decline a lot. So please let us know. And I'll hand this one over to Gribbo, so I'll let you talk about these.
Thanks, mate. I tend to bore everyone now. So I just wanted to talk through some of the risks that we have converted. So case studies, really, where they're real life examples of cases that we have looked at along the lines of the appetite that Rob mentioned earlier. But it's just a case, obviously, that we can relate to. So the first one's a challenging claims history case where it was a risk where 3 major insurers had declined it. It was in the mid net worth, high net worth space. It was declined initially due to claims. We've kind of stepped in, looked at it, assessed the risk, given it a fair underwriting stance. We've used our smart risk management tools that sit behind the system and enhance our underwriters' capability. And we've given it a balanced excess structure, which meant that we were able to win the risk in the end. So again, just an example of, as Rob mentioned earlier, around the claims with the risk with previous claims, we can underwrite our way around them within the criteria of obviously our binders, but it just means that the underwriters can really make a big difference rather than just underwriting it via the system. This is where they really come in, given the non-standard elements of the product. The second case was a listed property in Scotland. It was in a flood area, a high flood area. It was quoted at 1130. on via the system. The inquiry came in from the broker, obviously detailing all the information. We were able to assess the flood history, the area, carry out our checks, and within an hour and a half, we had that returned back to the broker, and the cover was incepted pretty much straight away with the flood peril via flood re. So it just shows you the ability and the speed, despite the fact that there are some non-standard elements to the risk, and that's where the team really come into their own. The third scenario is a high value risk contents risk case. It was declined by a number of insurers due to the excessive valuables. So as Rob mentioned earlier, around the jewellery, the fine art and the antiques, we reviewed the submission, the case that came in via the system. We looked at a suitable alarm, we advised on it and the safe requirements that were required as a result of the sums insured, and then we secured the renewal, via a new broker partnership. So it's a new broker to NBS, and one that obviously they were probably trying us on to see if we weren't we were all we said we wanted to be, and lo and behold, we went on cover with that risk straight away. So just another example there. And the fourth example is a subsidence case, where it had a history of subsidence, the property being rebuilt and the foundations improved and the water management improved, and we quoted with subsidence cover and a reasonable excess. So we didn't exclude the peril, even though the risk was probably still there in some way, shape or form. We did provide subsidence cover, but obviously we increased the excess on that particular case. But again, just an example of how we can underwrite our way around an exposure where some insurers would just turn around and say, sorry, it's not for us due to the increased risk. And then last but not least, a case undergoing renovation. There was £100,000 worth of works that were ongoing. We applied the appropriate contract works extension, theft restriction whilst the works were ongoing. And then once the works are finished, we agreed with the broker that we'll add the cover back in once sign-off's been complete and the property's up and running and it's back to normal. So again, just an example of how underwriting can really kind of win over certain scenarios or problem scenarios that present themselves. So just to recap really this slide, just to run through some of the main features and benefits as Rob talked about earlier. Contents can include jewellery, fine arts and antiques, and potential imbalances as some insurers may describe them. We've got no issue with that from the mid net worth perspective. We do have a speedy turnaround, as we've shown from the slides previously that I run you through. We can get cases in, even if they're slightly complex, we can run through them within kind of a number of hours and still have them back with you within a very short space of time. Our experienced underwriters really do help that speedy turnaround. So we've got experience in the non-standard arena, we've got experience in the mid-net worth arena, and it really does help kind of see all sorts of weird and wonderful risks that we do see come across our desks in line with our appetite, which we want to see. But the experienced underwriters do really help to get those cases over the line and underwrite around scenarios. We only work with A-rated capacity, as we've mentioned. We do have an HCC product available, and the product that we've talked about largely this afternoon via Hiscox, two very, very well-known insurers. As far as we're concerned, obviously, we cover everything non-standard within definition, excluding thatch. So thatch is an absolute no for us, as Rob mentioned earlier. And our rates at the moment, highly competitive rates, with very generous commission levels for brokers as well. So all that kind of just summarises a little bit around the discussions that we've had previously on the previous slides. So just moving on to the next slide. That's us, to be honest. So we've got that's the presentation. It's a very whistle-stop tour of the product. We didn't want to take up too much of your time. It was done consciously. We obviously have run through everything as far as overview of products concerned. As I mentioned at the start of the call, we are recording this, so we will share the recording with yourself and your colleagues, or for your later review. If there is any questions or anything that anyone wants to ask around potential scenarios or certain examples, feel free to pop them in the Q&A box and we will address them. We'll give everyone kind of 5 minutes or so just to put any questions in they may want to ask.
Shall I? There's a couple in there already. Shall I start with those two then? If anyone else,
yeah,
we can
by all means, yeah.
So let's start with Johnny. So can you cover main residences which are then let when the owners go abroad to second homes? Yeah. So we can definitely do that. We can I'll speak now in general terms as well. So we can do that not only for mid net worth properties. I would say we would ask about, depending on the level of contents, especially with the jewelry and fine art. Uh, what security got the property, what happens to the higher end items. But as long as they're in good security, they are not letting it out to on Airbnb, as you said, or it's just being used, it's just occupied for long extended periods. That's not a problem either. So that's not a problem. But also we can cater on our business home product for lower end areas as well. So I'll plug that while I'm here. We do have a business home which can cater for Airbnb. We lots of properties that are around where the Open's going on for golf or Wimbledon. We do write a lot of risk where they have the short-term letting element as well. So we can cater for those. Louise, are you likely to be able to offer this contract to amusement arcade owners? Very much, yes. That's they're not a decline as far as occupations go. Obviously, it depends on the profile of the entire risks, but what we try and do with it when it comes to occupations or constructions, all those types of things, on our system, when you put a quote through, it will tell you what is a decline occupation. Amusement arcade owners are not. Footballers, actors would be well, at least they're a referral anyway, so that they should be fine. Where we got?
We got a
Jason.
Jason, yeah. Ex-footballer, still works for a pro football club as development manager for loan out players to other clubs. Would we consider that?
Profile of, if we're talking, if it's someone who might do a bit of media work, it's all about who they are and are they a show off basically on Instagram when they're going away. If they are, we're talking someone who's down the league slightly and doing this, or even at a high level, but just not on any social media or not in the public eye, happy to look at them. I'm not going to say here we could definitely do it. It is very much dependent on who they are and how sensible they are when it comes to showing off, basically, because we know how people like to show off on social media these days. Yes. And do you require recent valuations for jewelry and watches? We'd like to see them. I would say that's over the 15K mark. We would like to see them, but if the client, we are reasonable. So if you come to us and say the client bought it in 2025 or 2024, 23, whatever it would be, in say a different country, we can just apply an owner's approved terms. Again, I'm not going to say we can always do that, but again, it's the circumstances. But we can also be quite generous with when we do that. We have other conditions to apply, and it depends on their claims history. I will be completely honest, and maybe an area code as well. So, but in general, it is very much dependent on who they are, what the profile is. We have other terms we can apply. Martin, can you cover properties with basements and use them for swimming pools? Yes, we can. Well, I would say if that's in the centre of London, price wise, our price in London in general is a bit high. It is being reviewed with insurers. So if that's the only non-standard aspect, I'm sure other high net worth individuals, insurers will probably cover that. They might be more competitive, but if no one else is, we can definitely do that. So, but if it's rural, we'll be very competitive. I think still on premium. So yeah.
There is another question as well, mate. Just from sorry to interrupt you. Just from Atul. What are the minimum premiums on the high net worth and mid net worth? Contents only and combined buildings and contents. So just the minimum premiums for the product.
So it is insurer dependent. So it's £750 with Hiscox either. So if it's combined or standalone, it's 750. If it's cheaper with Hiscox, sorry, with HCC, and goes to HCC, and it will be £500. However, their rating would be unlikely to ever be as competitive as what we have with Hiscox. And Johnny, just sorry, I'm not sure I missed anyone else because they're very new to me, this system, so apologies.
No, we're all right, mate. We're up to date apart from Johnny, yeah.
So Johnny, so preferred way of submitting quotes. So we do require the quote to end up on the portal, but we are more than happy to look at submissions beforehand on our. So if you want to just generate something off of Actress or OpenGI or whatever you've got, send it across, or just an email of a profile or whatever you've got, we will have a look at that. So we'll at the back end of this, we'll send the slides out, and what I will do is I'll get us to send as well is a copy of the policy wording, so you can have a copy of that, but also the NBS household or the quotes mailbox, so you can have a copy of that. So you can send all quotes to that. It'll get distributed to my team. We've got 13 underwriters who can look at things, so you'll get a response back quickly. But if you've got one where you know our appetite after a while, portal, as you do everything else with NBS on the portal, you'll get a quote. It'll always refer to at the moment, but we'll get you terms out ASAP. Commission element, I suppose. That we have nothing as a slide. I think some other insurers currently do. This is something we are. If you need to sacrifice commission to win something, we can do that for you. We've actually launched something on our system recently, so all you'd have to do is we'll offer you the quote with your commission correctly to start with. You then just have to come back to us either via email or via a note on the system saying, I'd like to have a discussion about, I want to reduce mine to X or Y. We will be able to offer that for you and send that out to you with a reduction in commission. The caveat to that is obviously that's on the main portion of the policy, not with Flood Re. So again, there's no commission on that element. So if it is with Flood Re, it'll already be netted commission, just because that's the way we've always rated it. Have I got any more?
I think that's up to date, mate, to be honest, from what I've seen.
Oh yes, yeah.
We're up to date.
That's good. Good amount of questions. If anyone has anything else, I think at the back end of this, please just drop us an email, give us a call. Again, we'll get you the presentation plus some additional bits, like I said before, but with all our contact details. And you can give us a call and annoy us whenever you want with any questions at all. That's what we're here for.
Absolutely. No, thanks everyone. It's been great for you to join us. We appreciate you all taking your time to spend a little bit of time with us this afternoon to run through the product. Hopefully it's been useful. I think there's obviously, as Rob said, an awful lot more to go through. It really was a summary of the product, but as you mentioned, we've got 13 underwriters who sit there waiting for your calls and are there to work through queries, be it via the system, email, telephone, however you want to contact them. And if you have any colleagues or anyone else who doesn't have access to the system, the portal to submit quotes through, by all means, drop us an email through, either myself or Rob. Our email details are on the second page with our ugly mugs on. Our email address is underneath there. So by all means, drop us an email and we'll make sure that everybody's got access to the system who needs it. It might be colleagues in your team or new starters or whatever, whoever it may be, just send us their email addresses and we'll get them set up on the system and assigned to your agency so they can submit quotes as well. If anyone's got any questions, by all means, reach out to any one of us. We'll make sure that we get you the answer to it, or I'll probably ask Rob. So don't worry about that. But at least it will be the right answer. We'll kind of get this going and hopefully make sure that we can turn some quotes and inquiries around for you to win cases. So thank you very much, everyone. Thanks for your time this afternoon. I don't think anyone's got any more questions.
No,
But if you do, or there's any kind of retrospective ones that you think of as soon as you hang up, then just drop us an email through and we'll answer them for you. But yeah, thanks again, everyone. Appreciate your time for joining us.
thank you.
Thank you.